Tackle today, Matt and Mark Justice Brothers from Tackle Trading, bring you all of the charts, the news, the analysis, so you can be informed in a concise manner each and every day. 50 basis point cuts on the table. We'll talk about that in a second. Rally is continuing. A strong rally over the last few days. Intraday price action has been very strong for the bulls for 3 consecutive days. Matt, we're seeing a little bit of outperformance as we get more odds of a 50 basis point cuts in some interest rate sensitive areas of the market. Not a surprise. Small caps outperforming. But break down the charts on the major indices for us.
I think when you're looking at the indexes here this week, it's really as simple as support held. I mean, that's really as simple as I can put it. 540 we were anchoring against as a support level, not on the daily chart, but on the weekly chart. That 20-period weekly moving average was a very, very important support level. And you know that because the last time it breached it, you had a very quick journey down. And the previous time you tested it, you had a clean bounce and another leg in the market. And so we were anchoring on that 540 support level. And I just think when you're looking at the market this week, yeah, there's a lot of PPI reports, CPI reports, central bank conversation. Are we going to get 0.25? Are we going to get 0.50? But at the end of the day, I really do believe that it was simply because support held, momentum shifted, and then the algos, once momentum shifts, has a tendency to push it back up into resistance. And so I do think we're just talking about a market that held support this week, coming off that bullish retracement. Now, when you're talking about what happens next, now you're kind of up against a majorly important area of resistance. You're absolutely going to want to see a little bit of pattern development at that point. And when you're looking at your indicators, you got MACD hooking and crossing here today. RSI is kind of hovering right around that 50 barrier. Those are both really good looks from an indicator perspective going into this potential breakout. And so you are not overextended. And what occurs here when you do have that retracement coming into that multiple time frame breakout, it resets those indicators so you're not overextended going into it. And I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking specifically what we need to see next, what we're doing from a bias perspective in the Tackle Trading newsletter for our pro members here today. So if you're not a pro member and you want to get that detailed technical read against the market indexes, the sectors, understanding entirely what's happening in the market, check out that amazing Tackle Trading newsletter we put out to our pro member community every single Friday.
Yeah, listen, we're going to break it all down. Will you show me small caps real quick? Because this is one of the interesting things as we head into the economic, really strong price action. If I have an interest rate sensitive area of the market on my watch list right now, it's overperforming today. I just wanted to comment on this as we head into the economic news because it's what we're seeing in the price action. It's not just a broad mark. It's just not a S&P right now. It is a lots of areas of the market because there was a little bit of economic data out today that nobody will remember. Well, they already forgot it in the University of Michigan. University of Michigan does a lot of consumer surveys that the market uses. Consumer sentiment, small beat today. Inflation expectations down from last month. Those are both positive data points from a bullish economy perspective. But the real news today is the huge jump that we are seeing in 50 basis point cut next week. Now, the Fed meets next Wednesday. Powell pressure after FOMC statement is going to have a lot of it. Probably the most interesting release of a statement because most of the time on the Fed, you're waiting for Powell. You're waiting for Powell. Genuine anticipation building on whether we get a 50 basis point or a 25 basis point next Wednesday. A lot of this is being fueled, not a lot of it, it's entirely being fueled by comments out of William Dudley and more importantly, Fed whisperer Nick Timiraos saying that, hey, 50 basis points still on the table. Matt, why would he say that, put that out there, unless it was literally on the table? I think the market is reacting the same way.
Listen, I could care less what former Fed chairman, former Fed Reserve President William Dudley has to say. He's dove. But Nick Timiraos is the Wall Street whisperer. He's the Fed whisperer. He's the Powell whisperer out there, and you definitely have to take what he has to say seriously. I'm a little surprised, quite frankly, after the last couple of weeks of economic data from the labor market as well as the inflationary prints here this week, with the slight concern on the core side of the inflationary situation. Now, it's just one data point, and that one data point was a slight bump up. It wasn't too concerning, but one data point certainly can lead into two, can lead into three, and so on and so forth. So, with the strength of the economy, with where the GDP is right now, with where the labor market is right now, in comparison to a slight concern, and I do mean that, just a slight concern on the inflationary side, I would think 0.25 is the conversation. Is the central bank and maybe Nick Timmerose dangling a 0.50 out there? Of course they are, but at the end of the day, I still believe a 0.25 is justified here.
Yeah, no, it is genuine anticipation. We're going to write a lot about. We're going to discuss this tackle trading newsletter released later today. Matt, what stocks do you got for us in the news?
Yeah, I just got a couple stocks here, a couple in the earnings side of the equation, and then obviously Boeing has been in the news for what's happening on the SpaceX side of the equation, with a couple astronauts stuck in space, and Elon Musk and SpaceX happened to go up and save the day a little bit, but they had some unfortunate news outside of that as well. Let's get into Adobe very quickly. Adobe came out with a slight beat against EPS, slight beat on the revenue side of the equation, but they did have a slight bump down in guidance. It was not a big drop in guidance, but it was enough to spook the investors a little bit, and we had some sell first behavior in Adobe. On the flip side of the equation, in earnings today, you had Restoration, which came out with a good beat against EPS, slight beat on the revenue side. They did also have a little bit concerning on the guidance side of the equation. However, the CEO came out in an interview and said, well, we we absolutely are seeing acceleration of growth coming into Q3, and we fully expect that continuation of growth going into 2025. My question is, why was that not in the guidance then? If you are seeing that, it should be built into your forward projection. So a little bit of, hey, let's cheerlead this on a little bit in RH here today. But again, a gap up and breaking out of some resistances, RH. And then obviously we talked about Boeing, but Boeing also had factory workers go on strike here today, and that's going to impact production out of Boeing. And so when it rains, it pours, and it's certainly doing that on Boeing here. When you're looking at these companies from a technical perspective, you had a little bit of a gap down in Adobe as it is fighting that 525 support level. This is a tough situation to be in from a technical perspective, and you would certainly need to see quite a bit of development. On the RH side of the equation, you are breaking out of some overhead resistance at 300. You broke through all your
Retail stocks, Matt, have just shown
something changed after
something changed
ASO.
recently.
It's not recently, it's Academy Sports. That is what changed. The week before Academy, well, the few weeks before Academy, retail was very mixed on their earnings analysis. Academy came out, had a guidance issue that I was not too keen on, and yet it held really, really well against what I thought should occur. And now you're seeing Academy Sports go all the way back up into its overhead resistance. So, which I would love a little bit of a breakout situation on Academy Sports, but it was Academy Sports that released earlier this week, where it was like, something's changing here. So the way the market is treating these retail stocks on an earnings situation is changing. And you saw that with RH here today. Not a great report coming out of RH, but a little bit of the future type of talk was good enough to send this company up 23%. That's something happening underneath the surface. And now you're talking about a mid-tier opportunity in a reversal. You still have overhead around 355 on RH.
Yeah,
And it's
Matt,
still
I guarantee there is no way. I don't care the bearish setup. I am not shorting a retail company.
no, not after this week's earnings reports that probably should not have gotten the bid that they did, quite
but
frankly.
you,
But
Matt, you learn to trust the market. You're like, all right, might not make sense to
it's
me.
it's true. It's true. You might not understand it, but you trust the technical read. And then on Boeing, they just got a lot of problems here. It's a little bit surprising they're not actually down a little bit more, fighting a really, really, really important support break. They broke last week, but they haven't found anything to pick back up. It's going to be interesting to see what does occur here on Boeing over the next few days there, Chucky.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Listen, gold is continuing its breakout. That's maybe one of the stories of the market just the last couple days, amongst a lot of other interesting price action. But here, breakout we held, didn't give an inch yesterday on the breakout, like not an inch. We're seeing that continuation today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we talked about this in the Traders Lounge yesterday in detail, talking about the covered call side of the equation with all of our community, what to do on the management side of those covered calls if you were looking at anything in the gold market. Gold itself not great on the covered call side. It is good, but it's not great. But GDX and the miners are. And when you get that type of move to the top side, you're doing a lot of covered call type situations, you're going to have some management conversations to have. And we had some very detailed management conversations when those strike prices got in the money. And it's that type of support you get at Tackle Trading. So if you're on the fence and you're thinking about becoming a pro member, every single day we talk to our community about what they're doing. We help them out in navigating the financial world as well. And when you're talking about these opportunities in gold right now, we broke down the breakout in gold, in terms of exactly how to treat that. Now we're talking about 2 days up on that gold analysis. It's fantastic, but 2 days after a breakout, you start thinking you've maybe it already left the station for you personally on anything on the short term side of the equation, but long term still looks really, 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 really good. One quick point on GDX that I want to talk about very quickly here is that 40 handle. 40 is extremely important for GDX. It's one of the most important resistance areas in the market. And that's right where the price action is right now on GDX. Any degree of development here would go a tremendously long way. I'd keep an eye on GDX on any breakout above that $40 handle. When you're looking at silver here and the other commodity spaces very quickly, you broke through on silver against against the neckline. Now you're coming up into that secondary trend line. That looks absolutely gorgeous. I love that 28 handle as a support level. We talked about that all week long in the Traders Lounge. Now we're seeing a little bit of lift off. That's a good look on the silver side of the equation. And copper slowly but certainly is starting to develop as well. Now you're right back up at that 50 period moving average, which was the zone that blasted it last time. You're fighting through some moving averages right now. Could be a tough test, could be a tough situation to break out of. But good development here, not momentum development, but good development here would go a long way, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, we're going to release the Tackle Trading newsletter later today. It is a fantastic read, full of information. You can get it free. Go sign up for a 15-day free trial. Check it out. We do great work with it, and come be part of this amazing community. Have a great weekend, everyone.